Yes, Commons family, and happy Valentine's Day from Mexico. We have about 23 Commons people down here building a house for our new friends Juan Carlos and Raquel. We miss being with you guys, but I wanted to shoot a video today to introduce Ben Ledvina, who's going to be speaking to you guys today. Very good friend of mine, great speaker. Ben's been helping out with leading our community groups at the Commons lately. I know he's got some great stuff he's going to share with you and part of his story, but we miss being with you guys. We hope you're having a great Valentine's Day, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week.
I'm really excited to be here and honored. We'll get to some more introductions in a second, but before we do that, I want to take a second to just honor tradition that we have in the Commons, recognizing that we're just a small piece of the bigger global mission that God is doing in this world. So we're going to lift up another organization. I found it fitting since we got a team down in Mexico working through one mission. And a group I'm involved with Yelena is going there next weekend. I thought we would lift them up as a church and the impact they're having down at Rocky Point. So if you're the praying type, please join me and we'll pray for them. Father, thank you that you are not confined, that you are big and bold and you take your mission elsewhere, and that you involve us in that. I'm grateful for the folks that are running the One Mission Project and have been for a long time in Rocky Point. And that through them, you're called to take care of the homeless is being fulfilled, and that homes are being built every weekend throughout the year. It's a very, very powerful message, and thank you. We just pray safety over Charlie and the crew down there, that everything goes smooth and safe, all the traveling and all the down there, and the same for all the other missions that are going to be happening throughout this year. As we dive into your word today, please open our minds, our hearts, and our ears, and calm in here so that these butterflies go away. Okay, amen. All right, guys. My name is Ben Ledvina. Just a quick intro for me. I got involved with the Commons about, it's been almost 5 years now, 4 or 5 years that I've been coming here. I got involved through some friendships coming here that I'll talk about a little bit later on. I was trying to think, how do you sum up my life in just like a short, so you guys can feel comfortable with me up here? And pretty much, I don't feel comfortable with myself, so that's probably the best place to start. I saw this video the other day. It's like a describing personality type thing. My friend Jacqueline showed me. It's like a multi-potentialite type thing. And so basically what that says about me, and it describes it really, really well, is that my life is a scattershot. I just do a bunch of different stuff. I was adding it up. I was trying to think of the different things I've done in my life. And I'm only 23 years old, and I've had 50 jobs up to this point in my life. Yeah, that's real. That's not a made-up number. I have this thing where I have all these different interests and passions, and I just dive in, and I kind of have like just a really extreme case of ADHD with my life. So it's a pretty interesting thing. So right now I'm involved in about 4 different jobs. I work kind of volunteer-based for Young Life, for the Commons, and then I work downtown a little bit. I work at a gym. I work on campus. That's 5 jobs, more than I thought. There you go. And I was trying to think of some of the bigger themes in my life. And the one that I really wanted to point out, mostly just to embarrass her, is my beautiful girlfriend, Charlotte. Mostly I just wanted to see her blush. It's one of my favorite things in the world. We'll figure out later if that was blushing or she's really, really angry with me right now. And I mostly wanted to bring that up to transition into the weekend, the big celebration that we all got to partake in this weekend of Valentine's Day. Now, for Charlotte and I, this was kind of a double whammy because not only was it Valentine's Day weekend, but our monthly anniversary falls on the 13th and 14th. So this was also our 11th month that we've been together. Yeah, that's right. Making it big time. And so, two weeks ago, she calls me and I was like, you better clear your schedule. We better have a date, none of your last minute throwing it together type thing that I'm notoriously for doing. It's usually like 7 o'clock. I'm like, hey, you want to go on a date? Like, now-ish? She's usually pretty gracious with that. But we scheduled it 2 weeks out, and it comes up Friday night. She has work off. I don't have any work, anything like that. And I don't know if anyone else has gotten this weekend, but there's a little bit of a sickness going on in Flagstaff. So naturally, we have this big special date planned out, and I get come down with like the shakes, and I break out in this really, really bad fever. And I'm kind of a gigantic wuss when it comes to being sick. I'm the type of person who just likes to lay on the floor and go, and just moan pathetically. So it makes me feel better. you know? So that's pretty much my coping mechanism. We were in the middle of that about 5 o'clock, and she was being super nice. She was like, it's okay, skip the date. I understand that you're not feeling well. Thank you. And so it ends up, we go over to Wildflower, because I just wanted soup. That's really all I could think about at the time, was just some warm soup. And we're like outside, and I feel really, really bad. I'm about to break down. I'm like, I just want to give you a good date. I'm so sorry. And I give her this hug, and I come away. She's like, I think you got snot on my face. I'm like, yeah, we shouldn't go out there right now. We should just do this. But it ended up actually being this really sweet weekend. We kind of just hung out. We sat on the couch. I was fearing and shaking uncontrollably all day. And we ended up just having this really nice time hanging out and watching movies. And it was actually really ended up being a kind of a sweet romantic time that was awkward, honestly. I wanted to talk about Valentine's Day because we're going to transfer. If you guys haven't been here the past couple of weeks, Charlie's been going through a series called The Dead Poet Society. And what that is he has been taking historical figures, typically Christians, who have had an impact on their area. And he takes a look at their life, gives you a quick synopsis of that, and then tries to presuppose what scripture, if they were here with us, what they would share and galvanize and like that. So, because it is Valentine's Day weekend, I wanted to take a look at Valentine, or Saint Valentine. He's actually an ancient Catholic figure, and when I got really excited about looking him up, Charlie was like, there's not that much information. I was like, I'm going to prove you wrong. I can figure this out. And so I started to dive into it, and there's actually nothing. It was really, really interesting. I was diving into the web for like 4 or 5 hours, and mostly what you can come up with in terms of Saint Valentine, why we have this holiday, is a bunch of myths. So we're going to take a look at who Saint Valentine was and why he built this legend. Before we do that, I want to take a second, and even though it's not a historical event, and we don't really have the records of what he did, I want to take a second to consider the value of a myth or a story, which is essentially what a myth is. It's just a meaningful story. So I want you guys to, we got Harry Potter fans in here? You guys can in the comments, I'm sure. Fans. So if you're not familiar with the themes or the journey that is Harry Potter, A of all, you should probably reconsider the values of your life. There's your time. B of all, Harry Potter is obviously a fictional series. Now, if you're a parent or you're looking at it for yourself, you said because it's fictional, there's no value in reading Harry Potter. And that's to say that a story that suggests friendship triumphs, that the underdogs can make it, that good will triumph over evil. I'm a big Harry Potter fan, I can talk about this all day. But that these themes are not worthwhile. I think most of us would agree that that's actually not the case, and that these themes and the emotions that are evoked by a story can still have a lot of value. So as we look at the myths that are surrounding the character of Saint Valentine, I want you guys to consider, even though we don't have a lot of sources or anything like that, I think there's still a lot that can be gleaned. I think we'll see that throughout the day. Okay, Saint Valentine. There were about 3 men who were martyred in the early church history around the 2nd, 3rd, 4th histories when these stories started popping up, all by the name of Valentine. And there's a lot of, again, just these different folklores that kind of arise about how this underwent. The major one is during this time in Rome, they were, because of the Roman expansion, they were dwindling on soldiers. So the government kind of passed this amendment that, so essentially if you were married or a newlywed, you could be exempt from the military draft. You would get away from that. So the government, because they were running out of soldiers, said we're going to ban marriage. That'll keep the young men available to be drafted into the army, and that'll keep our armies fresh, because a lot of guys are getting married just for the war going into that. Now, St. Valentine, he was like the ultimate romantic, makes Nicholas Sparks look like a horror writer type guy. He was all about love and thought it should triumph over all things. And so he decided to go against the government and to undermine them, and would legally, kind of like these, I don't know what an underground marriage would look like, but he would start marrying people kind of undercover, because he felt that love, that love was more important than the law. Now that gives us a couple cool pictures about what Christianity stood for, especially early on. Christianity has never been the dominating power force. It has never been the major government, the hand that crushes, ever. It's always been the subtle underdogs rising up against. It's been the reversal of power, those who stand for something good against the authority. Which is kind of an interesting thing. Now, the myth goes on from there. He got arrested and put in jail for these things. There's a couple different theories. There's just one story where while he was in jail, the local governor brought his blind daughter to this man, who was obviously a devout Christian, and he laid hands on this girl and was able to heal her sight. Essentially all the stories go to this point where he just stood for something that was so important to him that he got killed for, because he was obviously trying to stick to the man and battle the government. And so what that shows us is that St. Valentine had a belief in something more than himself, a belief in something greater, and I think it's more than just a belief in God. It's something that says a little bit more about him. It is a stance that was worth him sacrificing his life. Now, we hear that a lot in kind of our pop culture and stuff like that, but when I think about it for myself, there's not a lot of things in my life that I think I can really confidently say that I would go to my death for, and that I would sacrifice my life. It's a pretty big, bold statement to make that claim that you would actually die for something. We're going to jump into some scripture and try to figure out what this faith might have been, what he might have shared, and how he might have communicated what this passion was for him. Now, because we don't have a lot of facts about who St. Valentine was or what he kind of stood for, and it's mostly just myth and legend, I had a lot of freedom with trying to figure out what scripture he might share on a personal level. And I think, based off the myth of him healing a blind girl, I just went for Jesus healing a blind beggar. This comes out of the book of John. We're going to jump into chapter 9. We're just going to start trucking away. You guys have your Bibles, you want to pull along? I think we'll have it up on the screen also here in a second. All right, first one. Let's take a look. This is, most scholars would agree that he is still in Jerusalem at this point, and that he is recently just had a conflict at the temple, and he's kind of fleeing from the Pharisees. Blah, blah, blah. He's walking around. As he went along, he saw a blind man from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" I'm going to stop right there because for me personally, we can get a whole bunch out of just this little chunk right there. The beautiful thing about Scripture, at least in my life, and what I've always found to be beneficial, is to place myself inside of the story that's going on. And right away, I find myself in the disciples' shoes. I don't want to presuppose, but I think a lot of us can relate to this idea of why. Justification, blame, guilt. Why does this thing happen in my life? We want to have some sort of explanation, cause and effect. At least I do when I look at the situations and circumstances of my life. It is a really popular belief that physical disabilities back in the early century, because they just didn't have the medical wherewithal, they usually thought it was a result of a sin, a spiritual deficiency, whether it was from them or their parents. And the question for this man is, because he was born blind, did he sin? Did he have some sort of predisposed sin? Was it his parents that sinned? And I think I read that and I go, yeah, like, why do I have this situation in my life? Why do I have a financial burden? Did I do something wrong in God's eyes? Why is my family falling apart? Why did I go through a divorce? Why X, Y, Z, fill in the blank? We want to know why. Where did I go wrong? What mistake did I make? It's almost like we create some sort of merit card in our minds, some sort of checks and balances. And we're like, oh man, where did I go wrong? Where did I not get enough gold stars to meet the mark? When I think about that, it kind of sounds almost, that merit card sounds kind of like a naughty nice list a little bit. And that's interesting because then, I don't know if you guys catch that, we make God into be Santa Claus. We picture him sitting up there checking some sort of list if we did things right or wrong, and then a punishment or a gift. Maybe that's a little bit why, at least in my life, I tend to sit around and wait for God to show up presents. Anyways, moving forward. Verse 3, neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus. But this happens so that the works of God might be displayed in him. Right away, he takes up that merit card, that list idea, and he crumples it up, and he chucks it away. He says, actually, these burdens, these circumstances, these hard things, your blindness, your divorce, your financial stress, whatever it might be, is actually a little bit more of a gift from God. Maybe it's something that, with his help, we can triumph through and push through for the glory of God. He goes on to say, as long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. I like that. He says, we must do the works of him who sent me. One of my favorite things, why I've always been so attracted to Jesus, is because he's opposite of me. When I have a task, I tend to just think that I know what's best, I'm just going to handle it, I don't really want to involve other people, and I'm just going to get it done. Because I'm type A like that. But God is a God who says we. He's a God that says, I could probably do it better, but you're welcome to come along and help me out with this. He goes on to say, night is coming when no one can work. While I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. It might sound a little confusing. Most scholars would agree that this idea of night is coming is a time when God can't work, and that John is referring to the point in between the death and the resurrection of Jesus. As kind of suggested when Judas betrays him and Jesus says, night has come. Basically, this is just saying that Jesus is able to do work while he's here, pre and post. See, when I read this, I think, well, Jesus left, he died and resurrected and all that, so now is it over? But no, it's just that little chunk right in there is what most scholars would suggest. All right, moving forward. After saying this, he spit in the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. This sounds very, very weird at first, but this is actually a really common practice for doctors and medical workers and magicians at the time. They would actually very, very commonly use their spit as a healing practice. And so this is, in a lot of ways, Jesus taking and owning that and making it his own. And also it lends to the idea, there's this kind of this theme throughout the Bible, it begins in the book of Job, that God is a potter, and we are his clay working on it. And so John is just being a master rhetoric user and brilliant author, ties this theme throughout his entire account. Verse 8. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg? Some claimed that he was. Others said, no, he only looks like him. But he himself said, no, I am the man. How then were your eyes open, they asked. He replied, the man they called Jesus made some mud and put it in my eyes. He told me, go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and then I could see. Where is this man, they asked. I don't know, he said. Now, I really, really like this idea, this moment. So take yourself into the story, like I suggested earlier. You have this beggar who's probably most likely sitting at a corner, and there's just people that walk by him every day in and day out. Maybe the first time he sat there, they were new to him and they noticed him, but they go about their day over and over and over again, and they get used to him. He's sitting there and he can't see. Maybe they toss some coins occasionally his way. Maybe they kick some dirt in his face. Maybe they spit on him, who's to say. And they become so accustomed to his presence that it's just part of their daily routine, and they probably don't even take much note at that point. Until this man has an encounter with Jesus, and he has this healing, this miraculous event happens. He goes to the pool, he washes, he probably goes back to his corner. Maybe he doesn't know quite how to change his life yet. And these people walk by, and they say, that's not the same man. That's not the same guy. It looks like him. So they point out, John clearly points out that he looks the same. Nothing physically about him was transformed. There's no glow, there's no halo, there's nothing like that. But that this man, there's something different about him. Something has changed. Something about his aura, if you will, his essence, his character, the way he's interacting. Maybe it's the way he stands, maybe it's the way he holds himself. to the point where these people who have become so accustomed to this man's presence don't even recognize him. So day in and day out, they're walking past him, and all of a sudden now he's standing out to them again. There's something drastically different about this man. There's a faith about him. There's something that has changed him. And I think this ties into what St. Valentine talked about, because he was different. He was willing to take a stand. There was something changed about him. He was different than people about him. I know in my life I've had a very, very similar interaction. It actually begins here at the Commons. I grew up, I've always lived in Flagstaff my whole life. I have a really, really great family, but we were never church-going people, or God wasn't really part of the table. Essentially, both my parents went to some Catholic boarding schools and were really drastically abused and beaten, and just nasty stuff from just these really, really negative school environments. So when they started their family, God and church and that whole thing was kind of just X'd out, not really a thing. And so I found myself in high school, because I didn't really have like a center thing like I was talking about. I was really, really sporadic person, kind of all over the place. And I would find myself jumping into these different sects, these different, I was essentially a chameleon, is how I would call myself. I would do whatever it took to be accepted and recognized in the groups that I needed to be in. And I really had no center of my personality or my person, if you will. That went all the way through my high school experience, and when I went to NAU, because I wanted to stay here for a girl that I fell in love with, shocking twisted story, she left me and cheated on me and left me and all that kind of stuff. And so I found myself in this really, really dark, negative, broken state, where I was depressed, questioning the value of my life, and was pretty much at rock bottom. And I had this really interesting experience, this encounter with God, where I got in my car. I don't really remember the trip, I don't know how it happened. If it was just muscle memory or what, but on a Sunday afternoon around 4 o'clock, I ended up driving to this parking lot. I walked inside, and you guys experienced this today. There's kind of a bunch of people standing around, awkwardly chatting, eating some cookies, drinking some coffee, right? Kind of just this weird experience. And I see one of my friends from high school, his name's Corey Miller, a lot of you guys might know him. And he says, "Ben, what are you doing here?" And I said, "I don't know, what is this?" He says, "Oh, this is the Commons, this is the church that I go to." And I thought in my brain, I don't want to go to church right now, that's not where I want to be. And he ended up talking me into staying, because I had all these negative connotations, so I really, really fought the whole process of wanting to be here. He talks me into staying. I sit in the back, right over there where some of you guys are, my hood up, just waiting to try to say something that I could disprove, that I could argue with. Because I knew that I could disprove all of Christianity with just a simple statement. After 2,000 years of trying to do that, I thought I was going to be the one, right? What happened though, is I heard this character Jesus who wanted the best for me. I heard of a person who was all about the reversal of power. That would take those in power and flip them on their head, and that he would change the way things are, and that he wanted what's best for us. I don't remember what the passage was or the sermon or anything like that, but I remember being really, really attracted to what Jesus stood for. And even more than that, I remember being attracted to the people that were here. There's a lot of young life leaders, and a lot of you guys are young life leaders, and I got really plugged into the community really, really quick. And it was this new experience for me where I didn't have to do anything to fit in with this group. The acceptance and the approval that I'd always been seeking wasn't there anymore. I didn't have to have the grades or have the athletic ability or XYZ. You guys know those groups of people where you have to hit the mark to fit in. The thing about these people is they wanted me to be with them just for me, because they liked them. And that struck something. I mean, that was a new experience for me. That was something that I hadn't experienced, known, felt before. Just an overwhelming love and acceptance. Now, this idea of love and acceptance is not anything unique by any means. This is something that we all experience, and there's actually a researcher named Brene Brown, and she has done about a decade's worth of research on socio-emotional type stuff. She's given a bunch of TED Talks on vulnerability and a lot of different things like that. And she wrote a book that I was reading the other day that was talking specifically about love and acceptance. And so the reason this ties in is this idea they were able to love and accept me unconditionally. And what her research showed was that our ability to love and accept others is limited. It's limited by a very specific factor, Our ability to love and accept others is limited by how much we love and accept ourselves. I'll say that again. Our ability to love and accept somebody else is directly related and limited by our ability to love and accept ourselves. So I think about this man who looked different after the healing. I think about St. Valentine, whatever's real about him, someone who completely changed and made this crazy story and this whole holiday that's based around him. And maybe they were so different and so radical, unrecognizable once they transformed, because of how they loved and accepted people around them, which comes from their ability to love and accept themselves. See, the overall arcing message of Christianity, the Jesus message, is not a God elsewhere, somewhere else, that Santa Claus sent us gifts, checking the list, things like that. The overarching message is that God will show up. He's so crazy in love with us that he would show up here and sacrifice his life and say to you and say to me that you are worth dying for. That each and every day that we have is worth dying for. Now, what we tend to do when we hear that is we think, oh man, I gotta make my days worthwhile. I gotta make that count. I gotta get something. That's religion. When I say, oh, I gotta do this to earn what God gave me. No. Regardless of what you did. If you sat on the couch and watched movies with your girlfriend all day, if you sat and read, if you went for a bike ride, if you played Xbox, like I don't know, whatever you did with your day, the message is that your day was worthwhile. And that you are undeniably loved by God to the point of being worth dying for, that you are loved and accepted. So my challenge for us today is, do we live into that? Do we believe that statement? Do we really ask ourselves, or when we ask ourselves, do we believe that God loves us so much, and then do we take that onto ourselves? Do we say, yeah, my day is I'm worthwhile, I'm loved, and I accept it. Regardless of what I do, whatever to-do list I have, whatever standards I expect it to meet today, whatever pressures my family has, whatever pressures my job has, whatever pressures academia has for me, I'm worth it. I'm unequivocally loved and accepted. I think that faith, when I mean faith, I mean belief in. When we choose to believe in that statement, what God says about us, to that extent, and I think we have the potential to become unrecognizable. Because if we believe what God says about us, we love ourselves on that level, we accept ourselves on that level. And that ups our limit of how we love those around us. And it ups our limit of how we accept those around us. And I think that creates this outward flowing bubble, this aura around us. That people walk by and they say, there's something different about that person. I knew Ben in high school, but now he looks different. There's something changed about that person. And it all starts, God is always about the self. He's about the individual. He's about you. And wanting you to know that you are enough and you are loved and accepted. We, at the Commons, we always like to practice the Eucharist. We're going to take a moment here to remember God's sacrifice, just in another form. So we have communion, we have 2 stations out in the back, and we have 2 up front. So I'm going to pray for us, and I hope that this message hits home with you guys, and then the band's going to come back out, and we'll enter into another time to worship. So here's the praying time. If you want to join me. Father, thank you that you say we're worth dying for. Thank you that you say every day we have is worthwhile. Thank you that you paid the ultimate sacrifice for that. Lord, I'm grateful for the change in my life. I just pray over this group of people that we were able to experience you, we were able to have an interaction with you. That our faith not be one of works or believing hard enough or trying hard enough, but that simply an interaction with you. We've be enough to make us unrecognizable. Love you, I trust you.